Acknowledge me, the one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kick It to Scoops. I'm your host, Scoops, the sole admin of Scoops, and what a round to end the home and away season for season 2025. The Western Bulldogs, their season is over, and they've got no one to blame but themselves. We've got Gold Coast making finals for the first time ever in their history, so congratulations to the Gold Coast Suns. Hawthorn, Fremantle have also made the final series that were 50-50 to make it going into the last round, so well on to those sides as well. Obviously, Adelaide and Collingwood and all those sides at the top made the top part of the ladder and made finals. So well under all those sides, except for Geelong, because I hope you go out in straight sets. But yeah, on this show this evening, I'm going to be revealing my team of the week for round 24. But something you've all been waiting for. I'll be going through the rigged All-Australian squad. Now, by the time you're watching this, the rigged All-Australian team may be revealed within hours of this episode airing. But I'm recording this pre All-Australian. So, now my All-Australian team is not based off the rigged All-Australian squad. It'll be off who I think deserves to be in this team. So there'll be some players that didn't even feature in the rigged All-Australian squad that will be in my final team. So we'll get to that this evening. Because my team is the real team, and that's the most important one of the lot. Now, I can exclusively reveal that my Scoops medal will be returning next week for this season. All the votes are done and dusted. Everything is done. You want to see who will win the 5th installment of the Scoops medal in the AFL? You'll have to wait and find out next week, most likely on the Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm just kind of working that out still. You'll be notified on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram at AFL Info Live and Scoops All Things Footy 24/7. With over 57,000 followers on Facebook, and on Insta, we're about 4,450 odd subs. So thank you all very much. Now, Scoops Who's Bang is going to be a big one because it's going to be about the rigged All-Australian squad. But before we do all that, obviously I'm going to review round 24. And I'm going to mention the final series matchups. I'm not giving predictions or anything like that this week because why would I? When they're next week and I can review them next week or preview them next week, shall I say. So we'll start off with this. If you want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/Cooper G. Want me to roast a friend, wish somebody happy birthday, anything at all, cameo.com/Cooper G. And if you know any AFL, AFLW players, any up-and-coming draftees or any state league players, and you want to see them on the channel in a Gold King challenge and or interview, please do send me a message and we'll try and get something sorted. All right, here we go. It is now time for the best segment on YouTube. It's the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. I saw the rigged All-Australian squad on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, and I thought, yep, rigged as I thought it would be. And now people are going to say, oh, you're just going to bring up Saints players that were robbed. Oh, yeah, I am. But I'm also going to mention other club players that were robbed. And I'm going to mention players that got in this ridiculous squad that should not even be in the squad, especially over the names that I'll mention. Now, people will be going, oh, you're just going to name Saints players. Well, no, I'm not. And I'm going to mention like-for-like replacements or just players that should be in the squad over XYZ. Because one thing I want to point out, in an All-Australian squad, not the final team, but the squad, nowhere does it say it has to be, say, 20 midfielders, 10 defenders, 10 forwards, and 4 rucks, for example. There's no criteria outlining that. And even in the real one, the final team, there's no criteria. You have a rough guide. But for the squad, it doesn't have to be 20 mids. It doesn't have to be 10 defenders, forwards, and 4 rucks. That's not how it works. And that's not what they say. They don't even say a damn thing. There's no criteria. Simple as that. So, the rigged All-Australian squad had some names that I just laughed at. Now, I will show you the rigged squad on the screen. It was quite laughable, to be honest. I laughed at it the moment I saw it. So here is the rigged All-Australian squad. You can see on the screen there, they've put Jordan Dawson, Mark Keane, Isaac Rankin, Riley Thilthorpe, Josh Worrell, Harris Andrews, Zach Bailey, Josh Dunkley, Hugh McCluggage, Dane Zorko, the Dacos brothers, Jamie Elliott, Andrew Brayshaw, Jordan Clark, Luke Jackson, Caleb Sarong, Jeremy Cameron, Max Holmes, Bailey Smith, Noah Anderson, Sam Collins, Ben King, Matt Rao, Ben Long, Lockie Ash, Finn Callahan, Tom Green, Sam Taylor, Josh Battle, Jack Gunston, Max Gorn, Cozzy Pickett, Zach Butters, Mitch Georgiades, Nick Loston, Nasiah Wanganeen Malira, About Bloody Time, Brody Grundy, Isaac Heaney, Bailey Dale, Tom Liberatore, Ed Richards, Sam Darcy, and Marcus Bunton Pelly. Well, there was no representation for Carlton, Essendon, North Melbourne, and West Coast. Well, let's just say this squad is going to be ripped apart right now. So first of all, before I even do my own team later on, all I will tell you right now is I'm going to tell you the players that should not be in this squad, and I'm going to tell you who should replace them, or a group of names that should replace them. So, and I have the stats in front of me to back up what I'm about to say, so I'm not making any of these stats up. I did a lot of research into this, so yeah, there you go. For example, I'm just going to say the names that I feel should not be in it, and then I'll go one by one. So the names that are in this All-Australian squad, the names that are in this rigged All-Australian squad are as follows. The ones that are definitely not deserving of being in there, should not be anywhere near this squad, are Josh Worrell, Luke Jackson, Ben Long should also not be anywhere near this squad. Josh Battle should not be in this squad. Marcus Bontempelli should not be in this squad. Tom Liberatore should not be in this squad. And Sam Darcy should not be in this squad. Now, some of them I'm not going to bring up because I'm not wasting my time. But some, I have comparisons of players that should be in place of some of those. Now some I've gone for like replacements. So who should replace XYZ's spot that play the same position? And then I'm going to mention a group of names. Okay. So first of all, so let me get this off the screen. So first of all, Callum Wilkie clearly should be in there over Josh Battle. Callum Wilkie not being in the squad is the biggest snub of the 2025 rigged All-Australian squad. Complete and utter bullshit. He's been a 2-time All-Australian, should have been a 3-time All-Australian this season. Absolutely robbed right in front of me. This squad is completely and utterly bullshit and rigged. The definition of match fixing. Now, Callum Wilkie v. Josh Battle, statistically, to no shock, Cal Wilkie wins. But I'm going to read them all out for you all. So, for these two individuals, I'll read out the key stats for a defender. So, marks, disposals, intercept marks, spoils, and intercept possessions. So, Callum Wilkie, 194 marks. Josh Battle, 126. Cal Wilkie averages 8.4 marks a game. Battle averages 5.5. Cal Wilkie wins that statistic. Wilkie averages 18.7 disposals. Battle averages 18.5. Small, but Wilkie still wins. Wilkie averages 2.4 intercept marks. Battle 1.3. Cal Wilkie wins. Wilkie averages 3.9 spoils. Battle 2.9. Cal Wilkie wins. Intercept possessions to wrap up this individual one. 6.5 intercept possessions for Wilkie. Battle 6.2. So I've mentioned 5 major statistics for Cal Wilkie v. Josh Battle. And you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, Cal Wilkie wins. So Josh Battle should not be in this squad at all. And if I want to make it even better, for 1%ers, Cal Wilkie averages 4.7 1%ers. Josh Battle, 3.9 1%ers. So, ladies and gentlemen, guess who wins? Cal Wilkie wins. Complete, and utter bullshit. No one can dispute that Callum Wilkie should not be in this squad. Now, I could argue that Sam Collins he's ahead of, some other key defenders in this group, and just any player that shouldn't be in the squad, period. I mean, Tom Barras was probably better than Josh Battle this year. That's a whole nother argument. Cal Wilkie was clearly better than Josh Battle, so Cal Wilkie should be in the squad in replace of Josh Battle and Sam Collins and everyone else there. But Josh Battle in particular, if we're going to mention one player. Now, this is another St Kilda comparison, but they're not all going to be St Kilda ones. Jack Higgins versus Ben Long. Jack Higgins kicked 46 goals this year. Ben Long, 43. Higgins averages 9.4 disposals. Ben Long, 10. So Higgins has more goals, and Ben Long just, by the barest of margins, just wins the disposals. The goal assists are both 0. Actually, no, because Ben Long played last night. Jack Higgins' average is 0.6. Ben Long's is 0.5. Jack Higgins wins. Jack Higgins' score involvement is 5.1. Ben Long's is also 5.1. Equal. So, statistically, Higgins just wins. Now, I'm not going to say it fully. I completely understand if people want to say that Jack Higgins shouldn't be in the final team, but he should be in the squad. Now, if Ben Long can get in the squad off half a season, then Jack Higgins should. Jack Higgins started like an amazing start. He was the lock at the start of the year and then faded away in the back half. So I would understand if he's not in the final team. But in this squad, he should be in. And if Ben Long did nothing in the first half, then did all right in the second half, that is the exact same as what Higgins did, just roles a reverse at the start and the end. So this is completely and utterly rigged. If you got Ben Long in the squad, you should have Jack Higgins in the squad. So complete and utter bullshit. Now this one. Luke Jackson. Spare me. Jesus Christ. So Rowan Marshall and Luke Jackson. Now, I am fully aware that Luke Jackson hasn't played 100% ruck, like what Rowan Marshall basically has, or thereabouts 100%, let's say 90 to 95%, because Harry Boyd played one game, and there were some games where Marshall didn't do the bulk of the ruck when Max Heath and Alex Dodson were playing. So we'll say 90 to 95% of the time he played. Now, I'm fully aware that Sean Darcy played the back half of the year, or some part of the back half of the year mainly, but Luke Jackson still was the number one ruck at times with Sean Darcy there. And when Sean Darcy was injured, Luke Jackson was and the only ruck in their team prior to Sean Darcy's return. So is it 90% ruck like a row? Not quite, but probably 80-odd percent. 80-something, okay? 80-something. So I will give him an excuse for some of the hit-out differential, okay? But I ain't copping that he should be in over Rowan Marshall. And Tristan Cherry, by the way, but I'm comparing Rowan Marshall here. Tristan Cherry was also robbed. Rowan Marshall had 627 hit-outs. Jackson, 446. So Rowan Marshall had, give or take, 180 more hit-outs than Jackson. Now, gee, for someone who says that Rowan Marshall, for people that say that Rowan Marshall doesn't get many hit-outs, that's way more than Jackson, who rucked for a good portion of this year as well. Now, if it was about 30, 40 difference, I would give him a bit of leniency because he played more forward mid than ruck compared to Marshall, but not that big gap. And gee, for someone that says that Rowan Marshall's not a good ruckman, he averages 6.8 hit-outs to advantage. Luke Jackson, 6.7. Marshall wins again. Marshall averages 18.6 disposals. Luke Jackson, 17.8. 3 out of 3 for Rowan Marshall in his favour. Score involvement. Someone that says, a lot of people that tell me that Jackson has a lot of score involvements and Marshall does not. Well, gee, you really need to think again. Rowan Marshall, 6.4 score involvements. Luke Jackson, 6.2. Rowan Marshall wins again. Tackles. Rowan Marshall, 4.7. Luke Jackson, 4.0 tackles. 5 statistics for a ruck, and Rowan Marshall wins them all. Now, there'll be people trying to rebuttal this by telling me, oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm reading the stats here, gents, so these numbers aren't made up. They're legitimately correct. You can go Google them yourself. Now, I'm going to mention one more name that should not be anywhere near this squad. And then I'm going to tell you some names that were robbed. So, how Josh Worrell gets in this squad is completely ridiculous. If he makes the final team tonight, I will go crazy. Did he have a solid year? Sure. Was he worthy being in the squad? Absolutely not. 20.3 disposals for a guy who played in the back line and some midfield wing minutes. The numbers are solid, but squad worthy? No. 20 disposals? Okay. 5.6 marks. Well, he's a defender, so you should be having numbers like that. Intercept marks 1.9, not good enough. And 1% is 3.8. For a defender, supposed regular defender, those numbers are bang average. And I could name you Harris Andrews, Sam Taylor, Cal Wilkie, etc., that should be in ahead of him. So, ridiculous. Typical AFL bias selection because Adelaide are on top of the ladder and you just want to include Adelaide players in the list. Now, here are some names that were completely robbed of being in the All-Australian squad. There's a few other players in the squad that I'm not so keen on being there, but I'm not going to go through 50 names or 44 names in detail. I'm just not. But actually, I will go there with Bontempelli. I thought the eligibility was you had to play 18 games. So, whatever. So, now, before I read anything about Bontempelli, I'm going to read you some other names who statistically have stats in their position better than Bontempelli and just in general were robbed. Some beat Bontempelli in some of the key stats that people rave on about for Bontempelli. So, first off, one name that was robbed of being in the squad, on top of Callum Wilkie and everyone else I mentioned before, is Jack Sinclair. Jack Sinclair he had 620 disposals, which is the 15th most in the competition, playing mainly halfback and a little bit of pinch hitting in the mid. Now, a key number here that people can't gloss over, he has one of the best efficiencies in the competition. He averages 80.6 disposal efficiency, where Bailey Smith, in comparison, is 64%. Bang average from Bailey Smith. Jack Sinclair, elite efficiency, disposal efficiency. Jack Sinclair, 4.8 marks a game, 3 tackles a game. Gee, for someone that people say doesn't tackle, that's pretty damn good if you ask me. 4.7 intercepts and 5.3 score involvements. For someone that apparently only gets cheap touches in the back line, gee, they're bloody good for an average of 5.3 score involvements. Now, so he was robbed. 15th most disposals in the comp. Jack Sinclair sinks silky mover and deserves a spot in the team. Now, some non-St Kilda players that were robbed. Well, clearly Harry Sheezel was robbed. He had 674 disposals this year. Yes, including that 54 disposal game, equal record breaking with Tom Mitchell. He had the third most disposals in the competition, Harry Sheezel, despite playing half forward and half back at the start of the year for the first 8 or so weeks in big bulk. And Clarko decided to play him in the midfield, and well and behold, he killed it, Clarko. Should have done it earlier. Now, continuing on with those stats. Harry Sheezel averaged 29.3 disposals, 6 marks, 4.3 tackles, and 5.4 score involvements per game. Clearly worthy of being in the squad over every name I mentioned that shouldn't be there. Because remember, it doesn't have to be the same position. And there's other mids in that squad that he was clearly better than, like Tom Liberatore, for example, who wouldn't have had any numbers better than that. Now, someone else that was robbed was Zach Merritt. Zach Merritt averaged 27.4 disposals, despite playing a bit of half back and half forward because Brad Scott can't coach anymore. 4 clearances despite playing in the back line a little bit, so that didn't help his numbers, where they were about 7 when he's played midfield. Tackles 4.4. Score involvement 6.1. Not bad for a guy who didn't make the bloody squad. Aren't I right? Because I'm right. Another 2 names that were robbed. Will Ashcroft was clearly robbed of not being in this squad. He should be in the squad. Will Ashcroft averaged 27.1 disposals, 5.5 clearances per game, 6.1 score involvements a game. Not bad for a guy that doesn't kick it properly. He was clearly robbed. He had the key midfield stats, and he dominated in each of those 3 categories. Lockie Whitfield was also robbed. 623 disposals, the 10th most in the competition, averaged 7.2 marks per game, 4.8 intercepts per game, 4.5 score involvements per game. Completely robbed right in front of me. All these guys were robbed. And finally, George Hewitt, who had arguably one of the best seasons, definitely his best season in his career, and absolutely should have been in the All-Australian squad. He had 647 disposals in George Hewitt, the sixth most in the competition. He averaged 28.1 disposals, 6.5 clearances, 5.7 tackles, and 6.0 score involvements. Now, if you want to compare Hewitt and those other guys I've just mentioned, right? Bonampally, you want to compare his stats, a supposed good player? Well, he averaged, Bonampally this is, 27.1 disposals, which is less than Hewitt, the same as Will Ashcroft, less than Lachie Whitfield, less than Zach Merritt, and far less than Harry Sheezel, and even less than Jack Sinclair. 5.4 tackles, which is less than George Hewitt. Let that sink in. He averaged 6.3 clearances, which is less than George Hewitt. And he only just beat Will Ashcroft, who didn't even make this squad. And Zach Merritt would have beaten him had he didn't play half forward. And score involvements, well, that's the only statistic that he actually does well in, and that was 9.1 score involvements. But in the four key major stats for a midfielder, Bonampally is owned by all those guys in three of the four categories. That's not an opinion, that's a fact of life. Yeah. So, all those guys were robbed. The All-Australian team has always been rigged. And this just proves it even more. Tristan Cherry should have been in the squad. There was plenty of other names that were robbed that I haven't mentioned. But Tom Liberatore in the squad is ridiculous. Sam Darcy shouldn't be in this squad. People were crying for Aaron Norton. Give me a break. Do you want to have another guy like Ben Long who decides to play 8 good games and gets in the squad? Then why didn't Jack Higgins get in? That's because he doesn't play for the Bulldogs, or he's not a big name player that the AFL love. Simple as that. The rigged All-Australian squad is rigged, and I'm sure by the time you're watching this, you would have seen the rigged official AFL All-Australian team. Not mine. Mine isn't rigged. Mine is great. The AFL's one is shit. And you'll probably be watching this while seeing that rigged one being revealed already. But I don't give a shit. That squad will clearly be rigged. I'll read you mine very shortly, but to the AFL selectors, each and every one of you that made these particular calls that I just mentioned that shouldn't be there, and if you were involved in wanting those players in the squad, you should resign effective immediately. In particular, Kane Corns, who shouldn't even be in that squad after the embarrassment he had last year when we saw the little clips when they were doing like the reviews of their team, and you heard Kane make some outrageous calls and anti-Saints. Obviously, that's why Cal Wilkie's not in there, because he's so salty that Cal Wilkie's staying at St Kilda and not joining his banter club, Port Adelaide. To everyone, lift your game. It's pathetic. Hope you all enjoyed that edition of the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Yeah, just quickly, some trade goss. Don't count out the Saints with Jack Silvani. Sam Flanders, St Kilda are apparently confident, according to Sam Eben and now Tom Morris, so let's hope that happens. St Kilda has shown some interest in Cam McKenzie from Hawthorn. St Kilda will acquire Tom de Koning officially after what was happening yesterday, where both clubs confirmed that will be happening. Carlton won't be matching the bid. They've said that already. Can't be official until October, but it's official about it being official, if that makes sense. And St Kilda will acquire Lekalia, and there's a mystery mid Cal Toomey's talking about, which could be Sam Flanders. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, Mark Allen on 3AW, who used to be on SEN back in the day, he's trying to say a text came in from a person he trusts that Charlie Curnow and Jack Silvani will be at St Kilda. Sauce, maybe, is a chance, but Charlie Curnow won't. But could you just imagine Charlie Curnow, Max King, Cooper Sharman, Mitch Owens, Mateus Filippo, Jack Higgins, Liam Ryan, Dan Barlow, etc., Mason Wood? Oh, baby, that's a great forward line, and that would be almost one of the best forward lines in the competition if that was to play out like that. But no, Charlie Curnow's not going to St Kilda, but gee, if that happens, oh, how up and about I'll be. I mean, we've got TDK. We're going to potentially add Liam Ryan. We're going to have Lekalia. potentially Sam Flanders, Cam McKenzie, or at least one of those guys, and potentially someone else, and some others may come along the line as well. We'll text Wanganeen in the rookie draft later in the year, or as a pre-season signing. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, all looking good for the Saints. Just offer Winhager a 4-year deal, please. Just do it. And don't let Rowe go, even though, as of right now, Rowan Marshall is happy at St Kilda. So, there we go. Charlie Curnow today said in his exit interview he wants out of the Carlton Football Club. And within a few hours of that post, the Carlton fans complaining on my post. It's not me that made this opinion, mate. Your own player said that, and Tom Morris quoted it. So, stiff shit. Carlton are a rabble. Charlie Curnow wants out. Tom de Koning wants out. Jack Silvani wants out. That's 3 of your best players. If you lose Cripps, Wiedering, Walsh, Jagger Smith, your club is screwed. You're already screwed, but you'll be even more screwed than you already are. Banter club, just like Port Adelaide. Now, let's now go through my round 24 scoops. AFL team of the week. From the back line, the pockets, John Noble and Mason Redman. Full-back, Stephen May. Half-back line, the flankers, Jack Sinclair. And Connor Rosie. Centre-half-back, Jacob Wiedering. Wingers, Errol Goulden and Zach Butters. Centreman, George Hewitt. Half-forward line, the flankers, Darcy Wilson. What a game. 5 goals, 25 touches, star. Not bad for a second-year player. Other half-forward line player, Mitch Georgiades. Centre-half-forward, Jeremy Cameron. Forward pockets, Ben Keys. And Frank the Tank, Honk Evans. Well done, Frankie. Very underrated the last month. Frankie Evans. Port fans so salty they didn't keep him. Full forward, all hail the king, Ben King. Tristan Cherry is the ruck for the round. Rovers, Noah Anderson and Matt Rao. Interchange. Well done, and congratulations to recent debutant Cooper Trembeth, who's kicked back-to-back 3-goal games a few times now, and he's deserved a spot in the All-Australian team. Team of the week. Luke Parker, welcome to the team as well. Riley Thilthorpe, Harry Sheasel, and Toby Green. The emergencies, Rowan Marshall, Jai Simpkin, Luke Davis-Uniacke, Carl Amon, Clayton Oliver, Max Gawn, and Harvey Langford. Now, reasons for these selections, I'm just going to keep it brief because we've got a lot to talk about on this show this evening. John Noble had 32 disposals against the Bombers, so deserves a spot in the team. Stephen Mayer, 23 touches and 13 marks and a lot of 1%ers and intercept possessions. Mason Redman had 36 disposals in the Gold Coast game, so deserves a spot. Jack Sinclair, 34 disposals, 6 clearances, 8 intercept possessions. It was a lock sinks. Almost won us the game against the Giants. Jacob Wiedering had 4 contested marks and just was a rock in that win over Essendon in the start of the round. Connor Rosie, playing injured, had 34 disposals, did well in Ken Inkley's last game. So well, and again to Travis Boak, Rory Atkins, and Ken Inkley on their amazing careers. Errol Goulden on the wing. He had 34 touches and a goal or so. He did well. George Hewitt had 36 as usual and a lot of clearances, did well. Zach Butters was amazing in the last game against Gold Coast with 36 touches. Darcy Wilson, 5 and 25. Just amazing. For all the hate he's copped from non-Saints fans this year in particular, he stuck it up the haters' Darce. Well on you, mate. Proud of you. Jeremy Cameron kicked 4 and 20 against Richmond. Georgiades kicked 4. Ben Keys kicked 3 and 19 against the Roos. Ben King kicked 7 and 3 in the previous game, in the double game for them in Essendon. Obviously was getting in. Francis Evans kicked 3 or 4 with 19. He was awesome. Tristan Cherry had about 28 touches and 40 hitouts, was a lock. Noah Anderson had 34 disposals, 3 goals in the game last night against Essendon. So he was obviously getting in the team. That was just so obvious. Matt Rao, 2 goals and 34, and had a good game against Port Adelaide, or okay against Port as well. On top of that, Cooper Trembeth kicked 3 goals. Luke Parker, a goal and 30. He's going to have a great year, Luke Parker. He's had a great year and been a good pickup for the Roos of the older brigade. Riley Thilthorpe, 3 goals and 18 touches. Stiff not to be on the ground, but look who's on the ground. None of them are replacing him, or he's not replacing any of them. Harry Sheasel was really good for about 34 touches. Toby Green, 4 and 17 in a close win over the Saints. Marshall was the next ruck. LDU and Simpkin were the next mids. Next winger was Cole Amon. Clayton Oliver. Gawn was the third ruck choice, and Harvey Langford, next half-forward bench player in that order, basically of how I've written it. So I had LDU ahead of Simpkin, but that's about it. So comment down below what your thoughts are on my final team of the week for 2025. It's amazing to see all the feedback people have of my team of the weeks. It's funny how triggered some people get by how many Saints players that I have in, but whatever. People are going to know life, I guess, if they're going to make graphs and everything, but whatever. So, right. Now, let's now go through, do you want to review the round, or do we go to my All-Australian team? Well, I mentioned the finals matchups, actually. So, you'll have Adelaide and Collingwood at the Adelaide Oval on a Thursday night. Friday night at Geelong and Brisbane at the MCG. Saturday will be GWS and Hawthorn at NG Stadium, like 3:15 or something. And then Saturday night in Perth, it's Fremantle and Gold Coast at Optus Stadium. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But there you have it. So that'll be very, very interesting to see. All right. Now, yeah, let's review the round 24 games. I'm not going to go through it too much because I know you're all waiting for my Scoops All-Australian team reveal because it's going to be a big one. So, you know, Essendon 56, Carlton 90, Carlton by 34 points. They did what they had to do. And they got the win, and I mean, they end their season on a solid note, but all their players are leaving. Tom De Koning had a solid game. Hewitt was great. Francis Evans was really good as well. Redmond and McGrath and Merritt just try their guts out each and every week. It says it. So does Archie Roberts as well. Can't discredit Archie Roberts, who should win the Rising Star. Oh, that reminds me, while I'm at it, my Rising Star tip is that it should be Levi Ashcroft and or Archie Roberts. I might make an official decision another time, or if I don't, until then, when it's revealed, then the joint winner for me is Levi Ashcroft and Archie Roberts. Not Dan Curtin, no. Or any other name that people are throwing up out there. It's only one of those two, or both. Collingwood 82, Melbourne 76. Look, Collingwood by 6 points. Melbourne weren't disgraced, but they didn't get the job done. It's as simple as that. Darcy Cameron was amazing in the ruck, kicking a goal in 24. But, you know, Dacos in the midfield was really good. But they did what they had to do. And well done to Timmy Membry on game 200. Proud of you, mate. The skunk. Port Adelaide 71, Gold Coast 67. Port Adelaide by 4 points. Yes, Port Adelaide did it for Ken. They did it for Boki, and they did it for Rory Atkins as well. Now, Willie Rioli has also announced his retirement as well. Was it a selfless call not to do it publicly? Who knows? But he's retired. Port Adelaide have delisted so many players. St Kilda have delisted a few, Harry Boyd and Angus McLennan. Melbourne have done it, I think. They have not delisted anyone yet, no. Carlton delisted a few today, including Orazio Fantasia, Harry Lemmy, and Alex Chincotta. Port Adelaide delisted a fair few, including Jed McEntee. So, yeah, there's like 5 of them. Lockie Charleston, unfortunately, was one as well. Hugh Jackson was another one. It's a shit time of year for people getting delisted, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Can't do much about it, unfortunately. Now, the other games I'm going to go through. But yeah, well done to Ken and Travis Boak on their amazing careers as coaches and players, and Rory Atkins as well. But gee, Gold Coast, they were really disappointed. They're lucky they beat Essendon in the last game in the end. Otherwise, they weren't playing finals, and that would have been a catastrophe, considering they were a lock for top 4 only about 6 to 8 weeks ago. And Fremantle fans thought the same, and they almost missed the 8 if they lost to the Bulldogs as well. So, Jesus. North Melbourne 100, Adelaide 113. Crows by 13 points at Marvel. Look, they did what they had to do. Thilthorpe was really good. Worrell did okay. But it was Sheasel, it was LDU, it was Simpkin, it was Parker, it was Trembeth, who played really well. But Adelaide kind of maintained around that 15 to 20 point lead, but they were never out of it at the Roos, so that's a credit to them. And I'm not going to say that Adelaide weren't trying, because that's disrespectful to say. Richmond 64, Geelong 103, Geelong by 39 points. This just shows how Geelong is not that good, as much as you think. Yeah, they dominated in the first half, big deal. That's what they should be doing against sides like Richmond. But to Richmond's credit, they beat Geelong in the second half, basically. And they owned them in the second half, and they won on the scoreboard. I think they kicked like 8 goals in that last half. To Geelong's like 2 or something, so, or 3 or 4. So, well, under Richmond and Geelong, well, see what happens when you face a real team. You will lose and go out in straight sets. Or, well, even if you don't go out in straight sets, you're not winning the granny. So you can bookmark it. They're not winning the granny at all. Banter club. Sucked in. And Jeremy Cameron didn't get 100 goals in the home and away season, like I just said he wouldn't. West Coast 51, Sydney 118, Swans were 67. Tom Plapley was amazing with 2 goals and 27 touches. So now I think about it, he should have been in my team of the week. But, oh well, can't fit them all in. Whoops. My bad. Sorry, Tommy. But, you know, Goulden, Papley were really good. You know, an all-round good team ever. Tom McCartan, I think he played all right as well. And he did a few weeks ago, Tom McCartan, keeping one of his opponents goalless a few games ago or two. But Sydney did what they had to do. West Coast disappointing to end their season like that. But it is what it is. The games on Sunday, GWS 104, robbed St Kilda 93. GWS won by a rigged amount of 11 points. GWS got like 7 free kicks to 0 in the last quarter, and Toby Green marked the ball out on the full. Therefore, that Darcy Jones goal would not have happened. So we would have had an opportunity to win with a minute to go. Rowan Marshall was thrown out of the ruck contest with 50 seconds to go in the back 50, about 50 metres out from the Giants' goal. So we would have had a chance to score. So we were robbed of an opportunity to score. But I was really happy with the fight. You know, GWS kicked like the first 4 goals. I thought, oh, shit, here we go. Then we brought it back. Darcy Wilson, 5 goals, 25. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. A breakout game for Darcy Wilson this year. Filippo kicked a few goals early before he was unfortunately subbed off injured again with a calf issue, which is just shocking to hear. Wish Matase all the best and hopefully get a good injury-free season next year and play every game and have no injuries. You know, but Jack Sinclair, 34 disposals was amazing. Rowe was terrific in the ruck with a goal and 24. Not a goal, but 24 touches and like 30 hitouts. He was amazing. As he always is, Rowe. Please keep him Saints. I would love to keep Rowe at the Saints. If a TDK at 2 ruck duo would be amazing. Would be the best ruck duo in the comp. TDK and Rowan Marshall. Mark my words. It would be Paddy Ryder and Rowan Marshall when Rowe played forward back in the day. So why can't I work with those two? And they can split depending on the opponents, who plays ruck, who plays forward. You can have a different split every game. That's a luxury you have of 2 A-grade rucks that have the ability to play forward as well. You know, but it is what it is. The Saints missed Max King all year and Dougal Howard. People don't understand how important the structure would be with those two in the side. In particular, Max King, because he's one of the best key forwards in the comp when he's not injured. And Dougal Howard structurally helps Cal Wilkie, Caminiti if he's playing there, Taru, the Flying Viking. Wilkie wouldn't have to play a role that's not suited for him. He's an intercept defender, not a one-on-one defender. So it helped him immensely. But I was really happy with the effort. We hit the lead at half-time. We maintained the lead through the second half. They got in front a few times, but we also regained the lead. They got to 10 points towards the end. We got it closer. Zach Jones missed a shot with about 3 minutes to go. It's disappointing, which would have put us in front with 2 minutes or so to go, 2.5, 3 minutes. But it is what it is. You know, I'm happy with how we fought out the back half of the year. Yeah, sure, some of those wins were scrappy, but I was really happy with the Giants' effort, considering it was in Sydney. It was close. Last time we played the Giants in Sydney, it was 1 point, but it was a bit different in terms of how it played out that game. But this game, the effort wasn't something you can question. The effort was through the roof. Really happy with the result in terms of how we played. Disappointing that we couldn't get the 4 points in the end. Western Bulldogs 97. Fremantle 112, Freo by 15 points. I told you, Bulldogs fans, you weren't playing finals. You're all talking top 4. You're talking a big game, saying how elite your team is. Well, that so-called elite team couldn't even play finals. And gee, I'd rather finish where we did, because we now get a better draft pick, and we're getting all these players coming in. Who are you bringing in? Maybe Jack Silvani at best. And you may bring in Neil Erasmus. Oh, big deal. And you're going to have Jamal Ugle-Hagan leave, and you're going to get nothing for him, which is not your fault, by the way, but that's a whole another story, which I'm not getting into. So, but yeah, well done for making finals. Oh, wait, you didn't. Banter Club. You lost Sarong, and they weren't even dominant, and they still won. Your best few players, like Dale and that, couldn't even get you over the line. So, stiff shit, you're not playing finals and sucked in. Brisbane and Hawthorn. Close game. This was Brisbane 89, Hawthorn 79. Amon was good. Newcombe was all right. But at the end of the day, it was Will Ashcroft, it was Josh Dunkley, it was Logan Morris, Dane Zorko in his 300th game. Well done to Dane Zorko. Charlie Cameron played his 250th game. Well done to him as well. They just got the job done, and that's all that matters, really, isn't it? They got the job done, and they got the W, and that's all that matters. They secured a top 4 spot. Hawthorn aren't in the top 4 now, thank God for that. So there it is. Dangerous for the final series are the Brisbane Lions. And last night, Gold Coast won by 95 points. That's the biggest win in the club's history too, by the way. 153-58. Gold Coast by 95 points. Besides Archie Roberts maybe and Mason Redmond, I mean, there was not really any good Essendon players at all. For Gold Coast, it was Rowell, it was Anderson, it was King, it was John Noble at 32 disposals, Ben King 7 and 3 in the first quarter, 5 in the first half. Noah Anderson, 3 goals and 34, amazing. Matt Rowell, 2 goals and 32, amazing. They both had more clearances and contested possessions and score involvements and goal assists and everything like that. They were simply elite. And the Gold Coast Suns, in the first time in their history, will play finals. So that's great for the Gold Coast Suns and their fan base. So well done to them. All right, now it is time to exclusively reveal my 2025 Scoops AFL All-Australian team. Oh, this is going to be so good. This team, I know you've been waiting all year. There's been no rolling All-Australian team. There's been nothing like that. But it's now time to exclusively reveal my Scoops 2025 All-Australian team to wrap us up this evening. Alrighty. Let me add the music in the background. The most prestigious award in football is the Scoops Medal, but it is also my Scoops 2025 AFL All-Australian team. My team is not rigged like the AFL. So, from the back line, the pockets, Callum Wilkie and Lockie Whitfield. Full back, Harris Andrews. Half back line, the flankers, Jack Sinclair and Nasiah Wangadeen Malira. Centre half back, Mark Keane. The wingers, Zach Butters and Hugh McCluggage. The centreman, Matt Rowell. The half-forward line, the flankers, Mitch Georgiades and Jamie Elliott. Centre half-forward, Jeremy Cameron. The forward line, the pockets, Jack Gunston and Toby Green. Full forward, all hail the king, it's Ben King. The ruck, Brodie Grundy. The Rovers, Noah Anderson and Tom Green. The interchange, Will Ashcroft, George Hewitt, Nick Dacos, Zach Merritt, and Caleb Surrong. Now, yes, that is my team for 2025. I hope you could hear me clearly. Now, I'm going to put the team on the screen for you all. Now, I understand that the AFL only do 4 players on the bench, but I don't give a shit what they do. I do it my way, and that's with 5 players on the bench. So let's look at it for the first time on the screen, shall we? So here it is. Now, again, like I said off the top of the show, I understand that some players didn't make the rigged AFL squad, like Callum Wilkie, Lockie Whitfield, Jack Sinclair, Will Ashcroft, and Zach Merritt. But I don't give a shit what the AFL had. So this is the real All-Australian team. Now, so I've gone with 3 tall defenders. I've gone Callum Wilkie, Harris Andrews, and Mark Keane. I did consider Sam Taylor, but I thought his last 4 games were deplorable for his standards. and he got beaten by every opponent he was on, and badly. So that impacted his decision. I thought Mark Keane had a pretty bloody consistent year. So that's why Mark Keane made the team. Callum Wilkie was a lock. Harris Andrews was also a lock. Messiah, I don't even need to explain it. 1 game's off his own boot for us. Jack Sinclair, if it wasn't for he and Messiah, we would have lost probably more games than we won. Can play everywhere. There was quarters where Sinks would go in the midfield in the last quarter, and we would single-handedly win us some of those close games in the back half of the year and throughout the season. Averaged about 28 disposals, so why the hell not would he not be in there? Lockie Whitfield, a guy who didn't even make the squad as well, I think was just absolutely robbed. In the top 10 for disposals this year. He gets a lot of intercept marks. He runs and carries like Sinks, and I love players like those guys that run and carry the ball and actually make a big impact in the game. So that's why you see Whitfield and Sinclair and Malira, but Malira was clearly going to be in. But the other 2 who didn't make the squad were robbed. Don't know how they didn't even make the squad. The midfielders, it's a bit contentious about, do you put a inside mid on the wing? But I feel like Zach Butters can play the wing if he had to. And he's the most viable option of the guys that had on the field that can play on the wing, as does Hugh McCluggage. Both had amazing seasons, and to me, both are locks. Matt Rowell, I don't even need to explain myself why Matt Rowell makes a side, because, just watch any Gold Coast games and you know why. Contested beast, clearance machine, gets over 30 most weeks, and even when he's not getting 30, the impactful 20-something disposal games. That's what sets him apart from some others. The forward line, again, a bit contentious of, do you go 3 or 4 tall forwards? Well, I'm not considering Jack Gunston as a tall forward. He had the 3rd most goals for the season. Ben King got the 2nd most. Jeremy Cameron got the most. So logically speaking, they all make it. So the last spot was really down at Phil Thorpe and Georgiades. And I won't miss Georgiades for his consistency in a shit team, I know, but that doesn't matter. He played really well. The 2 smallish forwards that I considered, besides Jamie Elliott and Toby Green, was basically Jack Higgins. But, I thought Higo's second half of the season dropped off. And statistically, Jamie Elliott has more goals and had more impact consistently throughout the year. And Toby Green, well, because of his burst in the midfield and still kicking goals and having solid numbers is why he's also made the team. Any other small forward like Cozzy Pickett or anyone else you want to come up with were not considered at all. I want to make that abundantly clear. Not considered at all. So, the ruck, to me, it was easily Brodie Grundy and only Brodie Grundy. This Max Gawn love, I will not understand for this spot. Like, heavily favouring. Like, if you pick him, whatever. But for me, Brodie Grundy is a clear favourite. His season, people are underestimating how damn good he was. People just want to pick Max Gawn to bump his statistics up. But Brodie Grundy was amazing. Gawn shouldn't have had it last year, and he shouldn't get it this year. If you have 2 rucks, then you can debate it all you like. If it's one spot, like I have done, it's Brodie Grundy. Noah Anderson, absolutely amazing season, a breakout season for the co-captain. Normally when you have the captaincy, the pressure comes to you, but it hasn't for him, and he's been simply amazing. Like Rowell, you watch a Gold Coast game and you would know. Tom Green, the ever-reliable, still underrated, still underappreciated midfielder, just absolutely kills it each and every week. Averages around 30 disposals. There's a lot of clearances, contested possessions. I don't even need to explain it. Now, George Hewitt was clearly robbed of the All-Australian squad. He's been one of the best midfielders this year, in the top 10 for me, so clearly he deserves this team. Nick Dacos was really good this year, but not as good as the guys on the field, so therefore it's on the bench. Caleb Sarong was really good this year. Now, he would have been on the field. Actually, he learned how to break a tag, but he was still very, very good, so he still makes the team. Zach Merritt, I thought, was very underappreciated and should have made the squad. I think it was shit that he plays for Essendon. The amount of times he had to play a different role, a selfless role, play half back, half forward, and do all right in those positions while still having decent numbers, just shows, and I respect players like that and deserve a spot in the team. And Will Ashcroft absolutely deserves a spot in this team. I read out his statistics earlier about how many disposals he averages. 27.1 disposals, 5.5 clearances this year, 6.1 score involvements. Absolute lock for me. Now, there is one name I know people are going to be complaining about, and that's Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith was thought about, but to make my All-Australian team, You actually have to have an impact in the game consistently and actually not butcher the ball and go at 64% disposal efficiency. Now, without even looking, I'm sure someone's going to say that Tom Green or someone else has efficiency like that. But here's what I'll tell you. Whether it's statistically or you just watch a game, Tom Green impacts the game more than Bailey Smith. Or Will Ashcroft impacts the game better than Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith also missed games this year, which is another factor as to why he did not make the final team and why Will Ashcroft and Tom Green, because I assume they're the two people who are going to debate the most, or even Zach Merritt, who I thought all three had better impact than Bailey Smith. So simple as that. So that's my explanation for my Scoops 2025 AFL All-Australian team. Now, obviously, the rigged AFL one will be out while you're watching this, and I may review that on next week's show about how rigged it truly is. But thank you all for watching this week's episode of Kick It to Scoops. Don't forget, next week will be the return of the Scoops AFL medal, and it's a vote count you don't want to miss. I'm going to call it early. You are going to regret it if you don't watch it, because it's a vote count for the ages and one not to miss. Thank you, and go Saints.